Brodes Media.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome on into Sports Talk with Brodes. The Eagles season's not even close to starting, and there's already a bunch of controversy happening. Crazy, shocker, not at all. This is how it goes here, and let's just hop into it. So, I want to begin because there's the Deshaun Watson news that happened with Adam Schefter this morning on 97.5 The Fanatic on the John Kincaid Show. And then there's also the drama that's going on with potentially players making a statement. This is a report by Michael Robinson, who is claiming that there are Eagles players inside the organization that is not really fully in with Nick Sirianni. There's maybe some question marks about how far he can lead this football team. And here's the exact quote. I'm not going to say any names, but I know some guys in the locker room who question the guy, and they question, can he truly lead this team? And me personally, my personal thoughts on it is that maybe Howie Roseman wanted to put somebody, a yes man, in the head coaching position because Doug Peterson didn't want to do things all the way his way. And so he wanted to get a yes man in there. At least that's what it looks like to me. Now, we've been speculating that for quite some time. Once we saw the hire and realized that this guy was on nobody's list and realized that this guy has had zero experience calling plays, and then we heard him speak multiple times and the craziness that follows him, yeah, I mean, let's be realistic. We all made that assumption as well, knowing the power struggle with the Eagles and Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman. So that's no surprise. But then Lane Johnson comes out and makes a statement saying, say the names then. Enough with the bullshit hiding. Hashtag fake news. This is what I'm going to say to these comments made. We said the same thing about, and I don't want to butcher his name because I feel like I always do, Joe Santoliquito with Carson Wentz, the way the locker room was, and what do you know? Carson Wentz is out of town, and it blew up in this city's face. There's something to this. My personal opinion, my gut feel is there is something to this. Lane Johnson saying that's not true, that doesn't mean it's not true. Eagles players could have easily made this statement. It's not just fake news. Now, what a veteran player like Lane Johnson would do is get out in front of this, is to make sure that the locker room is not already lost and they stay together and they try and get this teamwork together, this brotherhood, before it gets blown way out of proportion and before it goes any farther, before it starts even getting more hectic. So I understand what he's trying to do, but that does not deflect what was actually stated. There probably were players in there. Think about it. Think about where this fan base is right now. Think about the feel on this head coach. Even though we all understand it doesn't matter about the goofiness and the corniness unless you win football games on Sunday, but there is this weird dynamic involved of this guy who's supposed to be the power of the football team. He's supposed to keep everybody in check and be the voice and be the leader. And he's somewhat childish and he's somewhat too extreme. And I didn't hear this actually go down, but I heard Mark Farzetta of the Farzy Show say this, that there was an interview that Joe Flacco did on 6ABC before, and he talked about how, yeah, you know what, Nick Sirianni is a little corny at times with some of the things that he makes this team do. And it wasn't anything in a negative way. It wasn't anything in this extreme way. How Joe Flacco, at least how I interpreted Mark Farzetta explaining it was more him saying, look, as a team, we do these silly things together. Yeah, it's a little bit corny, but he's trying to keep us as one, and he's trying to, bring the culture together. So we do the corny things, but, it's a bonding experience and whatnot. But I almost look at it, even though Joe Flacco did not make it an aggressive type of corny, I look at it as this isn't going to last. Something like that doesn't last. It's only the beginning. Okay, so it's the first training camp, or it's the first OTAs, or it's the first voluntary work, or it's the first little this or the first little that. But as you keep continuing to do this cornball stuff, it eventually has a big snowball effect where you lose those veterans, you lose those players. You don't have the same message, and that's what concerns me the most when we think about the start of the season. This past weekend, one of my topics on The Fanatic was, okay, let's look at Nick Sirianni. One thing that excites you when you think of Nick Sirianni, and one thing that scares you when you look at Nick Sirianni. My scare was, my biggest fear, if things go south quickly, how do you keep this together? As much as I couldn't stand Doug Peterson towards the end, vanilla offense, not running the football, it became a big disaster and an absolute joke. But the guys, even though they only had a handful of wins, the guys did not quit on Doug Peterson. They played hard. He still could rally the troops, and he did have that to support him. I mean, that's the reality of the situation. As much as we couldn't stand looking at Doug Peterson, there was an element to this where the guys were out there competing and giving maximum effort, where it was obvious that the coach did not lose that room. What if you lose your first 4 games and you go, really, this clown? What's going on with this? Boneheaded decisions, the media attention's getting harsher, you're questioning every single play call, things are not adding up, it's not making any sense. What is the response to the adversity from the head coach, which then moves down to what's actually happening on the field, right? It all starts with the adversity faced by the head coach, by the young coaching staff, and then that is what somewhat, the domino to the players that are actually producing on the field. So, just that's my fear. And my actual excitement for Nick Sirianni is the use of the run game. I think that's going to open up a ton. Miles Sanders is going to get the rock a lot more, so hopefully he can have more of a breakout season, which is only going to open up the passing game. Jalen Reagor and his new role with Devontae Smith being that speed threat and that dynamic receiver that we've been looking for quite some time. And, the over-under set for Vegas for the Philadelphia Eagles right now, according to DraftKings, and by the way, you can use DraftKings and use the promo code Brodes for all phenomenal odds and promotions. And also, since we're here, DraftKings Sportsbook is not only my favorite sportsbook, but also America's top-rated sportsbook app. I love using DraftKings Sportsbook. Easy to navigate, plenty of instructions for new bettors, and limitless ways to get in on all the action. My friends and family have been loving DraftKings Sportsbook. I know you will too. Download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app right now and use promo code Brodes when you sign up to turn $1 into $100 in free credits. Bet on the basketball team of your choice to win their next game, and if they do, you will claim $100 in free credits. That's promo code Brodes for a limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older. Pennsylvania only. New customer only. Wager paid out inside credits. Restrictions apply. In partnership with Meadows Racetrack and Casino, see DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. I never really do that read this early in the show, but it kind of just took me there and I went for it. Anyway, I digress. Let's move forward. The over-under is set at 6.5. There were a lot of callers over the weekend thinking 3 wins, 4 wins. They're not going to be much better than what they were last season. And keep in mind, the quarterback is a big question mark. We don't know what Jalen Hurts is going to be. No workout video is going to change my opinion. No big bomb when nobody's playing on the field and he's just throwing in an open field is not going to change my mind. None of this is going to change the angle I have on Jalen Hurts. And of course, this will open up more dialogue about the quarterback in Houston, Deshaun Watson, in just a moment. But I want to stick it right now to this 6.5 wins. I'd probably bet under because I feel 6 is more realistic than 7. So probably 6. I see them as a 6-win team. But last year, they had the worst quarterback in all of football. Carson Wentz was just egregious. They had one of the most historic depleted offensive line we've ever seen in our lives with a new set of 5 every single damn week where they did not have that cohesiveness as a core. It was always someone changing. A new left tackle, a new right tackle, a new right guard, a new center, a new left guard. Every single damn game, it was something else. You were just picking and plugging and seeing what was going to happen, where Brown is sitting there fixing his glove mid-play as he's getting torched, as he's getting waxed, and Carson Wentz is getting destroyed behind the line of scrimmage. It was that embarrassing So with those in play, with the head coach drawing up the worst offense ever, not making any adjustments to his game plan, and not looking at his personnel and doing what's best based off of what his specific players do individually. Instead, they were just trying to force players into this very vanilla system, which was egregious. That got you 4 wins. That right there got you 4 wins. Deshaun Jackson being banged up. No Alshon Jeffrey. The Zach Ertz thing, everything was just all adding up, and they still won 4 games. You know how bad you have to be a 3-2-win team? The Cincinnati Bengals type bad before they got Joe Burrow, and the Cleveland Browns bad where they're winning 1 football game if they're lucky. You know how totally dumpster fire-esque you have to be for it to be a season of 2 or 3 wins. Now, I feel 6, and that would still be the under, but the amount of, fear, the amount of fans that are somewhat really nervous for the season on the win total, I just think it's getting taken to an extreme once you lay out the context that I just gave you, for sure. And this season, is this season really about winning and losing games, or is it about setting yourself up for next season? So what I mean by that is, what I want, the message I want right now, before any Deshaun Watson trade, before anything like that actually goes down, if it goes down, what I want to say after this season's over is, I'm intrigued for next year. Okay, Nick Sirianni showed me something. Jalen Hurts showed me something. Or, okay, Jalen Hurts is not the guy, and we have the assets to find a player in next year's draft. We have the first-round picks. We have the second-round picks. Let's make a move. Let's move up the draft board and land that top prospect coming out of college football. We are set up for a plan B. That's what I love about this right now. If Jalen Hurts does not succeed this season, and he is the quarterback, and he's just not good enough, you are set up with assets to then fix that problem and head in another direction. The scary thing is going to be, what if Jalen Hurts is okay? What if Jalen Hurts isn't great, and I don't even know if he's good, but he's above average? What if he's above average? What if he puts you in that ugly, weird, murky area where it's a little cloudy, your judgment on him is somewhat skewed? He did okay. He did all right. There were some really good games in there, and there were some average games in there, and maybe there were some underwhelming games in there. What do you do with the sample size of okay? And to me, it's pretty simple. If Jalen Hurts plays this season and is okay, it's time to move on. Okay isn't good enough. And look, it would only be his first full season. So if a quarterback is okay in his first full season, is that too early to give up on him? Maybe. Maybe the answer is yes. It depends. I of course, I need to see context. I was listening to Greg Cosell talk on the Inside the Birds podcast, and he was breaking down a lot of the tape that he saw out of Jalen Hurts, and he would move so quickly that he wouldn't go through all the progressions, and he would just leave so many yards out on the field because he would utilize his legs, and then he would start running, where the second and third reads are still in play, and things like that are just unacceptable. So, there's been questions on his arm strength, but I also heard 2 sides of this, right? Some feel the arm strength is actually scary and actually concerning, and then there's others that say it's fine. It's definitely doable. There's no reason to stress on it the way that some are. Is it the strongest arm in the world? No. Does Drew Brees have the strongest arm in the world? No. So I'm not comparing Jalen Hurts to Drew Brees, but it's clearly a serviceable arm as long as he's, making the throws with accuracy and delivering the way that he needs to. But maybe the offensive line. If Carson Wentz, if I'm going to say Carson Wentz did not have the time last season, which is very true, maybe one of the reasons why Jalen Hurts took off so much is, well, he knew the pressure was coming. He knew the opposing defensive line was going to absolutely burn any offensive lineman that was available in front of him, so he elected to take off and gain yards that way. But it's the Lamar Jackson theory to a degree. I'm a big Lamar Jackson fan. I'm rooting for him to succeed, but you got to throw the football, dude. You can't just run. That's not going to work. And I don't care if around the league everybody has this versatility from the quarterback position. Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. The list goes on and on, right? I don't have to sit here and name what quarterbacks are in the league. But there is a limit here. And, like, if you can't throw the football the right way and you're missing out on all of these opportunities and you're missing out on, let's say you could have got a 35-yard gain, but instead you got 8. Sure, 8-yard gain is great in theory, but you can't be leaving that out on the table. That could be the difference in winning or losing a football game. That could be the difference in getting in field goal position or not. That could be the difference in a lot of areas of this football game. So, I'm fascinated to see how this works. Now, let's tie this into more of, and just to summarize and put a closing thought on the whole Nick Sirianni thing. Just because Lane Johnson says that's not true, just because others say that's not true, we all freaked out about Joe Santoliquito, and to a degree, he was right. To a degree, there was something there where there's smoke, there's fire. If you can use that logic against Carson Wentz, if you were a Carson Wentz despiser or a Carson Wentz hater, well, then you need to sit here and say the same thing about Nick Sirianni. Where there's smoke, there's fire. Now, what level of player? I don't know. You're right. It could be a 7th-round draft pick who says it. It could be a 6th-round draft pick. It could be an unrestricted free agent. It could be whatever. You know what I mean? It could be an undrafted guy, I should say. It could be anybody who's saying it, which obviously it loses power if it's a nobody compared to a respected voice inside the locker room. But let's not be fooled here just because a story came out about our Philadelphia Eagles football team. In my opinion, there's truth to it. There's smoke. There's smoke, there's fire. And this is nothing new, though. This is nothing new. That's been the common theme the last couple of days. Nothing new. Because even this Deshaun Watson news is really nothing new. Going back to yesterday, Shams of The Athletic tweeted that there was an article written that Ben Simmons and the Sixers opening up trade talks. We knew that. Then Stein came out and mentioned the teams. The Sacramento Kings, the Indiana Pacers, the Cleveland Cavaliers. I know. That's why we talked about Sexton. That's why we talked about Brogdon. That's why we talked about trying to get De'Aaron Fox. So no true, real news in those stories, but we take it for a ride. It's the same thing with Adam Schefter and what he said on The Fanatic this morning. It's really no new news. If this all ends up working out for Deshaun Watson, and let's preface it all by saying this. There were some nasty things involved with Deshaun Watson, and it's not just one time. There's 25. There's a lot. There's a lot. 25 is just a number that's coming to my head, but there's a lot of stories, a lot of masseuses. Is that the plural word for masseuse? Masseuses? That sounds wrong. Is it Masai? Kind of like cacti? That's terrible. No way in hell that's what it is. But anyway, there's a lot of people out there who give massages that are females that have similar stories to Deshaun Watson. I don't know where this is going. If we start talking about legitimate jail time and serious charges and legitimate insane type of legal problems, I'm out. All right, I am out. I'm out. If they go through the process here, they figure everything out, they move forward, he gets suspended by the league for however many games, and then he's allowed to play and he's back forward, and he goes through the legal process the right way, well, that's when I'm okay with it. It just depends on how this plays out. I'm not shunning him forever. I need to see what happens. And right now, it does seem like there's a lot of baggage and a lot of drama and a lot of nasty stuff involved. But we can't act as if we know all the details. We can't act like we know everything. He has an opportunity to prove that he's not guilty. He has the opportunity to, and look, I'm not telling you this justice system is the most fair in the world. There's plenty of people that unfortunately get boned, and then there's plenty of people that sneak away with doing things. O.J. Simpson, right? There's plenty of Bill Cosby. There's plenty of those. So, it's tough, and each person feels the way that they do. You feel a certain way, God bless you. I feel a certain way, God bless me, and we move on. Regardless, I'm not trying to get into politics. I'm just saying. Anyway, this is what is being talked about with Adam Schefter, right? So, just to be clear, on March 17th, CBS Sports, do not discount the Philadelphia Eagles as a strong suitor for Deshaun Watson. March 19th in the Inquirer, Howie will give up everything he has for Watson, an NFL source familiar with the Eagles said. March 22nd, the Houston Chronicle, the Eagles are among teams that remain interested in Watson. April 6th, the Houston Chronicle, several NFL teams, including the Philadelphia Eagles and Miami Dolphins, are monitoring the latest Watson legal developments. April 9th, Pro Football Talk, Much has happened. Much has to happen before Deshaun Watson could be traded, especially if it's going to be traded around the 2021 draft. The Eagles, yes, the Eagles. They have Jalen Hurts and Joe Flacco, but Deshaun Watson has proven that he's a franchise quarterback. April 14th, Sports Illustrated. The Philadelphia Eagles are trying to find a direction. You get my point. There's probably a couple more examples. Not probably. There are a couple more examples that I see here. This has been a hot topic for a while, and this has been Eagles-driven for a while. It's clear as day. The Philadelphia Eagles love themselves from Jalen Hurts. Loves themselves from Deshaun Watson, and they would be willing. I saw Natalie Eganoff tweet that she's hearing that Hurts would be in the move and that the Eagles are not necessarily sold on Jalen Hurts, which just brings it back to the whole, why would you draft him in the second round? Oh, you drafted him just to be the backup. Well, why would you do that? I mean, they started this whole mess. There's no reason to go back down that path because it was so disturbing and just vomit-worthy, very vomit-worthy. This is a thing that is interesting to me. I saw this tweet. Whoa, the Eagles aren't going to pay Steven Nelson a little bit of money. How could you possibly spend X amount of money on Deshaun Watson? Well, it's pretty damn clear. You're talking about a veteran, possibly washed up corner compared to a franchise quarterback at age 25. Do you not see the difference here? And then it's, well, how will they fit financially? That question has been asked every single damn year. Every year since Howie Roseman has been here, how are they going to do this financially? What are they going to do with the salary cap? What are they going to do? How are they going to push it back? Are they constantly going to push back contracts and extending? Yes, they're going to find a way. The Eagles would not be this deep in. And the Philadelphia Eagles and all these reports, they would not be as tied together if there was no way in hell that they fit this within their salary cap. And yeah, I get it. The whole Carson Wentz dead money and this and that. I got you. They know more about it than you do. They might push back some contracts, and that's how you do it. I mean, I remember listening to the Michael Kay show up in New York when they were talking about the Giants, and they were bitching and complaining that Gettleman doesn't do what Howie Roseman does. Look at what they do in Philadelphia. Look at all the success they have. They push back contracts. They extend contracts. They manipulate the cap so they can consistently bring guys in and they can fulfill their roster. Now, where you have the problem is when you have to start cutting guys and the dead money. But if that doesn't happen and it plays out the right way and plays out the formal way in your head without having to cut guys and this and that, well, then it's not as bad as it is when it's the alternative. So my point is, you wouldn't be in the mix the way that you are while I just read how many headlines about how interested they are if there was no chance to do it with where they are financially. They can. Then let's go to this one. I'm not trading X amount of first-round picks because we need that to complete the roster. You're right. You do need help completing the roster. The quarterback is the most important position. The quarterback can help you out with roster flaws, and if you build your roster first and then go try and find your quarterback, it's going to be troublesome, and maybe you overdo it because I'm not saying you can have too much of a perfect team, but when you have the quarterback, you don't need as much as you think you need. Get the quarterback, then you start filling in the holes compared to let's fill in all the holes and then somehow try and find that 25-year-old superstar quarterback like Deshaun Watson. It's not that simple. It's not that easy. You start winning more games when you fill out your roster. Even with a player like Jalen Hurts, you're not drafting as high. Now you're giving up even more assets. I mean, at the end of the day, you still have to package up an insane amount of assets to go get your quarterback. Go get your guy. The dude is 25 years old. If that's what you think is going to work, and once again, I need to see the legal stuff. I need to see all that play out first. You know, if it ends up working out for the Eagles and for Deshaun Watson and we move forward, then so be it. If it ends up being where that's the end of his career and nobody wants him and this is terrible for him, then so be it, and we move on to the next direction. I can see both. I'm okay with both. I'm okay with doing it if the legal stuff is okay, and then I'm also okay with not even looking at him and heading in another direction. I'm okay with both. So here's the quote, a couple different quotes from Adam Schefter. The Eagles are more equipped to make a run on Deshaun Watson than any other team out there. And this is where he goes overboard. And if you put Deshaun Watson on the Eagles, they become a Super Bowl contender right away. What are you basing this off of? You have no idea about the entire coaching staff. You have no idea about the defensive coordinator and Jonathan Gannon. There are still some flaws with this team. Yes, Deshaun Watson would help out tremendously, but now we're going, they're a Super Bowl team. You don't know one thing about Nick Sirianni's offense. You literally have no idea. You know nothing about any of these coaches. You don't think it matters, these coaches, to winning a championship? So how can you possibly make that assessment? Look, the Houston Texans were a disaster. They had Deshaun Watson. What did they not have? A good coach, not the best roster in the world, although, at times you have J.J. Watt, you had, not Deshaun Watson, you had, DeAndre Hopkins, and what? They failed. Why did they fail? They had Deshaun Watson. Well, there's other contributors, and there's other reasons why they fell on their face. Okay, that's my point exactly. A little extreme, Shefty, coming in with the hot takes on a Wednesday morning. More to it. Let's see how it all plays out. Again, what I would say, if there are charges and he gets imprisoned or something like that effect, something far-reaching and damaging and awful like a lot of this stuff seems, then yeah, well, then it's not happening. But I'm operating under the assumption somehow this will be settled or he will serve his discipline for the league or whatever punishment he is coming. Whatever is fair. And just once that is done, I think at that point in time, whenever it is, when he is deemed ready to play by legal authorities, by the National Football League, to me, the Philadelphia Eagles should be waiting. That's basically, the juiciness of it all, and it's crazy. It is. It's a crazy scenario. I understand if you feel I don't want this guy near me. There were some really disgusting things if you read some of the stories of the females that came out about how he handles these massages, and it's sickening, right? But once again, I don't know the details. So for me to sit here and talk into this microphone and tell you that this is what happened, this is all true with that, this is all false with these type of allegations, I got nothing for you, right? All I'm saying is if there is a time where Deshaun Watson becomes available, pays his dues, moves on from that part of his life, and becomes an NFL quarterback again where he's active and he's ready to rock and roll, and the Eagles make that move at 25, 26 years old, however old he is at that time, I'm interested. I'm willing to listen. I'm willing to have him on our football team. He's a hell of a player, and he's a franchise quarterback for quite some time. So, that's kind of where I am with it, and we'll see where that goes. I'm starting to get that football itch a little bit. I saw the other day. Let me pull up Zach Berman's tweets, because Zach Berman threw out basically a whole list of things to look out for over the last, pretty much the dates, like a schedule, I guess you'd say. Let's see exactly where, if I can. Here you go. July 27th, the players report. July 28th, first practice. August 8th, public practice. August 12th, versus the Steelers. Practice with New England. Roster cut to 85 on August 17th. August 19th, you're playing the New England Patriots. August 22nd, a public practice. August 24th, roster cut to 80. And the list goes on and on and on. But once you start seeing that, it's all right, fellas, all right. We're inching ourselves closer to getting to the link. Where I see this team, last year, look, I don't think this team is going to be amazing. But last year, this team was, I can't even put it into words how awful those Sundays were. At the time, I was at 97.3 down in Atlantic City. I produced a Countdown to Kickoff show with Tony Bruno, Harry Mays, and 10 a.m. to noon before the game kicked off, And when I drove back home, and it took me about an hour, so by the time I left the studio and got home, I plopped on my couch, and boom, it was game time. By the time I got home, it was like deflating. Like, here we go again. I had to watch it. I was forced to watch it. And there was zero entertainment. Zero. Your teeth would just be like grinding up against each other. You'd be making faces where you're sick to your stomach, and it's just terrible what you're watching every single snap. It was one of the worst things in the world. Except for when they made the change to Jalen Hurts, there was a tiny bit of spark, but not enough spark to truly change much. It was a tiny one, but not really an effective one and a long-burning one. So I can't give it too much credit, but it definitely did change the feel and the vibe just a little. But that's how brutal it was, and that's how bad it was. Something like Jalen Hurts then getting in there, which still only had 1 win in 4 games. He was 1-3. So that's how the fuse really was going. Horrible. There's no way that this season is going to dip to that level. There's just no way. Because you would have to have the worst offensive line beat down again. You'd have to have Jalen Hurts playing at the worst quarterback level possible in the NFL. And you'd have to have the worst scheme ever in the history of the NFL. That's what it took last year for us to be in that sort of pain on our couch every single damn Sunday. Are we going to get that again here? I highly, highly doubt that. So that's what we have today. Eagles football. A little refreshing, even though it's kind of negative talk about the head coach. And, I'm not forcing it to be negative, but it's just what it is. I'm just reacting to it. But, yeah, refreshing that it's not Sixers or Philly. Something new. So thank you all so much for listening, and I will see you next time.